Welcome back to Thanks for Sharing, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Eric B.
It's kind of like I did a good job with that intro, but it's still weird because there's not really much to intro.
Well, there's not much, I mean, it's just you and me, two mics, it's just on different sides of the phone. I did realize the other day, because we record all of these, we don't, this isn't our job, right? So we don't record them to actually make sense with what's going on, at this current time. I listened to one of the podcasts, just because I was like, oh, what's this? And then, I listened to it, and I was like, oh, wow, we were, in person. I was like, it's been a long time since we've been in person, When
was it?
It came
February?
Yeah, it came out last week. It was March, probably. But it came out last week, and I was like, oh, this was a podcast where we were in person. It's been a while, man. It's the world. I don't want to talk about that today, though. We can talk about that. Everyone's talking about that. But what do you want to talk about? What's been on your mind, David? How are you?
Well, actually, I kind of do want to talk about that just quickly, shortly.
Go ahead.
Because here in Maryland, as we were just talking about before we pressed record, was our we got downgraded a level of severity because our numbers here in the state of Maryland have plateaued and decreased over the last 14 days, which is a great thing. That's a huge step in the right direction. You're seeing masks and gloves on people in public. That's great. So my question is when does podcast recovery deescalate our level of strictness as it pertains to our social distancing? I have an idea.
I've thought about this. What's your idea?
Can I give my hypothesis?
Go ahead.
My hypothesis is July.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I've considered figuring out setups on your end and on Allie's end, of where you guys could theoretically record at home. Sometimes it's hard to get somewhere else too. Where, do I want us to all be in person? For sure. It's definitely, it's a better feel. But we can do these remotely and do them better. And that's my fault, right? And it's also a little bit of money's fault. I got a lot going on with house stuff right now, but when, but we could finagle it to make the sound better on your end and on Allie's end. And, I do have a background in this, so I can make, we're on a low end setup right now. But I think it will definitely not be in my current living situation. I can very easily say that.
No.
So it'll probably be, I would say, I mean, it depends. It changes so constantly. But if trends continue to go well, then sure. But if trends go bad, then no. So, I don't make assumptions about this, even though it's part of my job to make assumptions about this stuff. But just tracking what the world is doing, large group gatherings are so much different than just you, me, and one other person.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to play it by ear.
Absolutely.
We follow safety guidelines here at Podcast Recovery. I believe
we
in
do.
safety.
We me too. And even with the decrease in social severity. So what the decrease is retail stores can open up to 50% capacity. Certain things barber shops and stuff like that can open up for appointment only, so there's not foot traffic and shit like that. but that's good, and like I'm sure all PPE are going to be employed as well still. So it's a baby step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. What do I want to talk about? Well, I think the last time I did a thanks for sharing, it was. Oh, by the way, did you and Allie do a thanks for sharing after I jumped off?
Yeah, of course we did. We did a 45
Awesome.
a 45-minute thanks for sharing episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of extra catch up. She's new.
It's
and
just
it was getting more of a baseline. I got it.
We brought the fire.
Offended.
We brought the fire. We brought the fire, and we brought the heat, man. What can I say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yes, she's new. I'm not offended at all. I understand totally. No, I'm glad she got a one-on-one time with you. That's awesome. I had talked about in the one previous to that with you and Allie about how my new job was now moving forward. We talked about that, and now I actually got a step forward date. So I have my second interview on Friday.
In person or over the phone?
No, over the phone.
Okay.
It is a Google Hangouts meet or something like that. Microsoft something, Teams meet, something like that.
Those are totally different things, David, and you might want to know which one it is.
No, it's in the email. I think it's Teams meet.
Okay.
I'll give me a second.
Well, if you have any technical questions about that, you know who to reach out to.
Yes, it's a Microsoft Teams meeting.
Okay.
So I gotta download an app for that. Which is awesome, man. I'm excited about that. It's been difficult at work the last couple weeks because really in my mind I am totally checked out. I just don't I'm still doing my job well, but the over umbrella of shit that is long-term stuff, I give my opinion on and stuff like that, but in reality I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really concern me anymore. I'm most likely not going to be there. So that's been a huge relief. I've kind of just been to an extent putting in the motions.
Can I ask you a question about that, David, real quick? Just from
yes,
from I don't want to call it. It's not it's a new perspective on living, possibly, right? Where, and I kind of took this step too, where I was more in a gig. I had the gig economy. I was very much a freelancer and had my own business, and I had crazy fucking hours. And
totally.
You're in the restaurant industry where hours don't make fucking sense. And
No.
you don't get paid time off. You don't get certain benefits that other more traditional 9-to-5 jobs offer you. Are you excited about this new step potentially into I guess a new routine? Because it's going to change your life a lot and put you in more of a schedule.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so unbelievably excited. It's ridiculous. I've wanted to stop working 13, 14-hour shifts for quite a while now. It's been a thorn in my side. It's been a constant source of not only body pain, but anxiety and it wears you down mentally. After I just don't think people are capable of being productive for 14 hours a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at some point the productivity just takes a nosedive. And I've just like totally felt that. And because like at the end of a shift, like there's certain little trivial things like this or that like, oh, should I address this? Should I do? And it's just like, fuck it. I've been here for fucking 14 hours. Like I worked my ass off. I was sweating all day. I was on my feet all day. I never got longer than a 10-minute break. And like you have to eat on your feet. You're constantly interacting with people who are not nice. And it's really mentally and physically exhausting. And I'm over it. I'm ready for that new change. Am I totally ready? Like, no, because I don't know what different challenges, because I'm not saying it's, oh, I'm going to this easy job now. Like, no, it's going to be a new job with new challenges. But also there's so many benefits, and not just like monetary benefits, but like the actual, like you said, schedule benefits. Like I'm going to have weekends again, like
Yes.
days and nights weekends. And I'm not going to be working till 11 o'clock at night on a weekday. So yeah, my life is going to get a lot more regimented, and I'm really excited. And I've done similar work to it before, so it's not like my like sleeping and all those hours are going to change all that much. But yeah, it's a great new challenge. It's a great new opportunity, and I'm very, very excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what's been going on with me. Just trying to get that carrot at the end of the rope. What about you? I know what's going on with you, but I want to hear it from your lips.
What does that mean? I'm concerned. Like, what does that mean?
Well, I know you're dealing with the house and a move and all that stuff. So, what's going on?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, life is busy.
Yeah.
I mean, work is a monster.
Work is work.
It's a monster. It's like, since we've gotten like the stay-at-home stuff, like pretty much everyone's schedule's crazy. So it's it's 7:30 here right now when we're recording this. I've been on calls from 8:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night. All day. And tomorrow I have calls from 8 to 6:30. I think I have a half-hour break at one point to just like eat. So like work is crazy, but then also like the house is about to start. So I'll be moving in like 2 weeks, which is exciting. I think I shared this probably a few weeks ago, where it's like I live with my parents right now while we've been renovating this house. And, you know, I'm grateful to my parents. They've afforded me many opportunities.
Yeah.
I am blessed, for lack of a better word, for the life I was given. But being 32, I'm done living with my fucking parents. So I had to, like, it's kind of a sacrifice that my wife and I had to make, where it's like, if we want this nice thing, we have to do this. And it's not that like my parents are bad. It's just like, dude, like you choose to live with the people you want to live with. Right? Like I choose to live with my wife. I choose to live with my pets. Like I didn't choose to live with my parents. I choose to move out, and now I'm back here until this is done. So I mean, those are like that's like really my life right now, man. Like even the podcast, I'm doing less with that right now because I'm just like, my life is busy as fuck. And it's really just making sure that really, and I looked at this because we've been doing like these little things with like where like for work where like we take an hour each Friday to kind of like socialize as a team and just not work, like talk to each other. It's like a happy hour, but it's in the morning, and it's more like it's not happy hour, right? So it's more of like, and this Friday is like a workout. Like someone's gonna like teach a yoga class to like everyone, and it's kind of like when I'm thinking about it.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's. I signed up. I was like, sure, yeah, I'll do it. But the thing that is important to remember with all of like, just when you get busy, is to remember to breathe and to like take a break if you need it. But also, like, you can only control what happens right now. So one of like the important things that I've realized with like list building, right? So like when you're like planning and scheduling, a lot of it's basing priority. So what can I do right now? What needs to happen right now? Because those are two different things.
Yes.
And a lot of people kind of like, you can like look at a list of like a to-do list, and it can really fuck you up. And like one of the things that I've done to like manage that is I literally have, let me see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 13 Post-it notes on my work desk that are filled of shit that I need to do. And like one of the things that I've started doing is I start highlighting. And I do this on my like personal stuff too, because there's a lot of stuff with the house. So it's like, you got to call Comcast, you got to call BG&E, you got to call the water company, you got to do all this shit. Prioritizing what needs to be done and what can be done. Because if you look at that list without like highlighters and things being crossed off, it looks overwhelming. But when you start color coding it, it starts to make more sense. So it's, I don't know.
It's daunting.
And this is like different level of life stuff too. And like, I understand people aren't always going to be where we are when we talk about this stuff, right? Like, you know, like David, you're moving towards, you know, a more 9-to-5 life. And like, you know, someone entering recovery might not get that yet. And like, you know, I'm like in the process of like purchasing another home, and like these are like, you know, the gifts of recovery that I usually don't talk about, but it is part of like the thing that like happens. And I guess my problems are different. Like, you know, like I'm more worried about taking my cat to the vets because like they both have like all my cats and my dog have like issues right now. So like my biggest worries, you know, the house is a worry, like job worry, sure, but like I'm more worried about my animals. So I don't know.
I'm sensing an overall theme of this thanks for sharing, and it's really about prioritization of ourselves and our time and our duties. I mean, in the world, what's going on with COVID moving forward, with us individually, you with the house, me with the job, us collectively as podcast recovery, trying to get to a point of social responsibility. But yeah, ultimately, like to our listeners, and just like you said, like absolutely making a list. It's something that you do in the culinary world. You make a timeline of your recipes to make sure that everything comes out at the same time. It's all cooked. It's all ready to go. Blah blah blah. All of that. And I think you said it perfectly. It's like what can be done and what needs to be done, because those things in our lives, especially in early recovery, like what can be done and what needs to be done. What can be done? Can you get a job? Yeah, sure, you can get a job, but you need to go to your court date.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, things like that are more like, God, there's really good examples of, you know, like the one I always throw up because, you know, I was like college aged when I was in college when I went to my first meeting. And, you know, one of the things is like, oh, I have a final tomorrow, but I need to go to my home group. And it's like,
yes,
are you sure? Like, think about the priority of that. And, you know, there's stuff like that that in early recovery, it's kind of like
even years into recovery.
well,
We have several friends who spent 4 or 5 years of their early recovery where they're still in school. So that's not, I mean, technically it's early recovery, but when like it's like you're going for your master's in year 5 or year 6 of your recovery, like you're not exactly new in recovery, so you know about priorities a little bit, but it's still the same idea. Like, is your home group really a priority year 5, or is your master's thesis more important? Probably your master's thesis. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to prioritize a paper for your master's degree over a meeting.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah,
the paper's more important than your home group or a meeting.
100%, absolutely. And for early recovery, if you have a noon home group and you have a noon court date for your probation, well, sorry, home group, you need to fucking take a back seat. I need to go to court.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
It's interesting, right? Where, you know, I think recovery is all about growth, and the bigger issue here at hand, you know, and we can kind of like shut it down after this. It's like to think about it like this, where we've known each other for 8 years now, and we're much different people than we were 8 years ago. Like very different. And I think the thing that's important is like I've essentially grown up, and I'm very fucking lame now. Like I think about that all the time. Like I can't, you know, when we do board game night, like and you know, our friends are like, oh yeah, like come over at 9:30. It's like, dude, I'm asleep by 10. Like I am a fucking loser now, and like it's okay. Like I accepted that. Like I just grew up, and like if you're doing this process correctly, I think that's kind of the point, because that's what's supposed to happen in your life. Is you're supposed to get some semblance of growing up, and if life looks the same as it was when you first came in, then like is your program moving? Are you moving?
Yes.
Because like the whole point of recovery is to progress and to change. And if you're not changing, then there's a fucking problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's life. It's adapting to that change and being okay with it, and being okay with yourself in the midst of those changes. And I think we've seen evidence from lots of people that those changes aren't really occurring at a breakneck pace, and it's a little bit slower, but everybody has their process. Some people, you know, need to do whatever they have to do in order to get to that growth, and it takes some people longer than others. But that was some real, that was shady. I feel the shade I just threw into the world.
You threw. I don't feel shade. I felt like my comment was fine.
No, yours totally was, but you have to admit, I definitely just threw some shade.
I can think of probably who you were talking about, but yeah, I
oh yeah, totally.
I avoid trying to throw shade at people. You know,
I know, but like it was organic shade. It wasn't premeditated shade. It was it just happened that way, and it wasn't meant that way. It wasn't meant hurtfully. But yeah, like and we have to accept people where they're at for sure. But I think the greater thing is accepting where we're at, and you're a grown adult who's at the place where he's absolutely done living with his parents, and that's okay. It's not saying anything bad about what has been or what's going to come. It's just okay. It's things need to change, and same with my job. I've been at my job for 5.5 years. I've worked my way all the way up to the top, and it's like, okay, I've done this, and I've done it well, and now it's time to move on to something bigger and better and start doing that well as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anybody out there listening, we hope you got something from our ramblings, our updates of our lives, and just keep doing what you're doing. Well, unless you're using, then stop doing what you're doing.
Yes, don't do that.
Don't do that. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing this evening. We appreciate you listening. Go check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, if you want to know more information about Eric and I. And now, have you put up Allie's information yet?
No, that'll be in a little bit. But it might be by the time we're talking about this. So you can say Allie.
Okay.
Yes, you never know when people are going to listen to this episode.
That's absolutely true. For information on Eric, myself, Allie, and Carly, go to podcastrecovery.com. But most importantly, everybody out there, stay safe and stay clean.